Hey guys, what's up? Today I want to show you guys how we've been rigging our salmon rods for salmon fishing, for sockeye salmon basically. So basically, for anybody that doesn't know, sockeye salmon don't bite. So pretty much the only method that I know of besides just straight up snagging with a treble hook for catching sockeye is what they call flossing. So basically you have about 15 feet of line out, and say the river is flowing from your right to your left and you're standing facing it, you would flip your line upstream about the 10 o'clock position and then let it drift down to about your 2 o'clock or so, and then swing it in and flip it upstream again. And so that's basically what we've been doing to catch fish. That's what you saw us doing on our channel if you've been watching our videos at all. And if you haven't, go back and watch those videos because they're pretty cool, a lot of action and stuff. Anyway, so for anybody that's never come up to Alaska that wants to do it and they're just not sure how to go about salmon fishing, for one thing, you can stop in at any of the bait shops up here, Sportsman's Warehouse, Trustworthy Hardware, in Soldotna. You can stop at any of those places and ask questions and it'll tell you how to set up and how to fish and all that. But if you don't want to do that, I'll show you what I'm using and how we've been setting up. So what I've been using is this 8-weight fly rod that I bought at Trustworthy Hardware. It's called the Kenai Red, and I'm probably going to get this wrong. It's by Okuma. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but it's called the Kenai Red, and I pulled in quite a few sockeye since I've been up here, and I think they're about as big this year as they get from what the locals have said. And I've had no problems. It's been a great rod. The reel I'm using is also by the same company. It's just the cheapest one that they had in Trustworthy Hardware. And so I just went and bought it. I think I paid 35 bucks for it. I think I paid maybe 50 bucks for the rod. So it's like under $100 you can have a good rod that'll catch fish for you. You could use any rod. It doesn't have to be this one. This is just a good setup if you're going to come to Soldotna. I know they have them in Trustworthy, or at least they have this summer. I think it's something they do every year. And so it's a good rod. Like I said, you could use any rod and it would work just fine, I'm sure. As long as it's 8-weight, 9-foot range type of fly rod. I think you want at least an 8-weight to handle sockeye, and probably bigger if you're going to be like fishing for kings or something like that. Anyway, moving on from the rod, I have a bunch of different weights. I have some really, really heavy ones, but a lot of pretty popular weight and what we've been using is this 1 ounce banana weight, and it all depends what weight you want to use. It depends on where you're fishing, the current, how deep it is, and all that. So something you kind of just got to feel out, but I'll show you guys how we set that up. So basically just a weight and a little bit of yarn, and this is a 2/0 hook. I'm not even sure what company it is. And then some leader line, which I just use the same line. This is just 30-pound leader line, and it's the same line I have on my fly rod. I don't use floating line or anything, any like line made for fly rod. I just use regular monofilament line, and it works just fine. And I use the same pound test for my leader and my line. Some people might tell you different, but it's worked for me, and so I keep on using it. I also have this high vis like yellow green line, which isn't necessary. It's just kind of cool to be able to see it. But anyway, so this is how I set it up. So first of all, you put your banana weight on, and I just use, we've always called it a fisherman's knot. I don't know what the actual technical use or term for it is, but basically you go through the ring and wind it up about as many times as you feel like. I do normally about 6. I don't even really count, but that's what it comes out to. So then you put it through the first loop on your string, and you just bring that end around and put it through the big loop, if that makes sense. But you can use about any knot, just use whatever knot you normally use for fishing. Doesn't really matter. So you tie that on, clip that end, then take your leader line. This one is about as far as I can reach. I'd say it's probably 5.5, 6 feet. That's kind of what we've been fishing with, but that kind of varies depending on where you're fishing. You just kind of got to feel it out, go shorter or longer with your leader. So I just do the same type of knot, just around and around 6 times, through the loop, back through the big loop again, cut that off, hopefully that holds. So basically, that's a 1 ounce banana weight, tied leader to that, and then I have 5.5 feet of leader. And then you go down, I have my piece of yarn, and you don't want your yarn too big or it'll float too much. I don't know, that's just what I've been using, and it seems to work. And I take my hook, and I'm sure that I'm pretty much positive there's a better way to tie that yarn on than what I'm doing. I just haven't looked into it too much. So what I've been doing is just tying it into my knot, basically. But basically you just want that yarn tied at the top of your hook, or you could go a couple inches up. I've seen people do that if you want to make a special knot. It's easier if you can wet it. So like if I'm out fishing, it's almost easier. Just dip it in the water and get the yarn wet so you can feed it through the loop. Just go midway, cinch it down, clip the end, and there you have it. That's basically the setup. It's a pretty simple setup. Just the 30-pound test line, 1 ounce weight, and 5 to 6 foot leader, and that 2/0 hook and yarn. And that all varies. That's just the basic setup. It can all vary. Your leader length varies, your weight varies. I've been actually using just split shots instead of any weight, because that way I can move the split shots up and down the line easier rather than changing out my whole leader length, or putting a whole new leader on if I want to change out my leader length. So that works too. It's a little bit of a pain because they want to slide a little bit more, but I've caught quite a few fish doing that, so it works. But I decided I'm going to go back to the banana weight for now. So yeah, hopefully that helps you guys. If any of you are planning to come up here and have never fished up here, hopefully this gives you an idea of the basic setups if you want to fish for sockeye. It's kind of a whole different thing if you want to fish for silvers or kings or all that, but I haven't even got into that yet. We've basically been fishing for sockeye salmon because they're so good to eat. And they're kind of the bread and butter up here. There's so many of them in the Kenai right now. I also wanted to say, if you are coming up here to fish and you've never fished this stuff, just don't get discouraged, because it can take a little bit to master this method. One of the things I wanted to point out too, if you're coming up here and you've never fished up here before, some people are nice enough to give you advice, because you're going to see people out on the river no matter what. Some people are a pain in the butt. Some people will give you some helpful advice. I don't want to say don't listen to advice, because if you're new, and some of it's really good advice, but what we kind of found is you got to take some of that advice with a little bit of grain of salt. Listen, but just after a while, everybody tells you something a little different, and bottom line, you just got to kind of figure out what works for you and just feel for the fish and adjust leader length and weight and all that, and just kind of figure out what works for you. Once you start catching fish, just don't listen to anybody, basically, because if you're catching fish and it's working, then there's no reason to change it up. So that's kind of some of the things we've figured out. This is the setup we've been using. Hopefully this helps you guys, and thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe to this channel and like the video, if you enjoyed it, and also go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Schrock Outdoors. Schrock Outdoors was our kind of original YouTube channel that we still have, but since we moved up here to Alaska, we decided to start a new channel just for the Alaska stuff because it's such a big change from the Midwest. But all our Facebook and Instagram accounts and stuff is staying Schrock Outdoors for now. So remember to go give them a follow to keep track of what we're up to. And thanks for watching, guys. And until next time.